I know, peeps. I know. Yeah, we're going to the dog park. Yeah. I know, you just want to be there. Okay, wind machine. Hi, everybody. So, yeah, I know that after yesterday's fairly heavy episode, I promised something lighter, so I'm gonna do something a little lighter. I haven't entirely figured it out. I mean, this is all, pretty improvisational. But I figured, I don't know, I would just tell some stories, although I'm struggling a little to have any good ones pop into my head. But I think a good one to start with is one about this goober back here. I don't know if you can even see his, oh yeah, you can see his tail and his butt. He's got like just the front of his snoot sitting on the windowsill right now, sticking out the window. Now he's moving around again. Oh, back out. Yeah, he really loves, we call it the wind machine, because from Charlie's perspective, that's what it is. The wind machine. That's wind machine in Charlie language with an M at the end. No ends. And he has very specific wind machine speeds that he likes. He really doesn't like highway speed wind machine because that's too fast wind machine. That's too fast wind machine. But he does, I mean, this is a really good Charlie wind machine speed. As high as, 40, 45, he'll be pretty happy. Yeah, I know. So, I don't know, the first, ridiculous Charlie story that kind of pops into my head is a couple months ago, a little more than that. I don't know, late 2020, mid to late 2020. Oh no, it was around, it was actually November, because it was right around the election. My father-in-law came up to visit us, and he brought his dog. His dog is Edie, who is, I don't know, she's like a corgi-shaped chihuahua. She's I don't know, she's I think probably part chihuahua, and she's but stockier. Chihuahuas are pretty skinny, but she's definitely got the chihuahua bat face. And Edie is hilarious. This is going to end up being a story about Edie too, I guess. Edie is hilarious because she will sit down next to you, and she'll open up her, she'll lie on her back and demand a tummy rub, and then when you start giving her a tummy rub, she'll bare her teeth and snarl at you, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess you don't want that, and you stop, and she's like, no, more tummy rubs, and then you rub her tummy, and she's like, arr, arr. So Edie's kind of an intense little dog, and Charlie is terrified of her, which is also hilarious because she's less than half his size, but she's an intense little dog, and he's kind of a goober. And so, he'll go up to her and sniff her, and she'll kind of and he'll sort of run away. So my father-in-law Andrew was visiting us, and Edie was here, and Charlie was here, obviously, and we went out for, I don't know, some meal. I think we went out for lunch, and we left the dogs at home, and Charlie gets dry food, but Edie's food comes from a can. And so there was a can, don't remember if it was, I think it was open with plastic wrap on top of it or whatever. And we came home, the can of Edie's food had been left on the counter, and Charlie being the trash monster he is, got up to counter height, grabbed the can, and in order to get all the food out of it, basically just chewed on it. What am I thinking? Those the squeezy ice pops where you have to squeeze the thing to get the stuff out, or really any. Oh, is he gonna react to the mail truck? Nah, just looked at it. Sometimes he'll bark, which is unfortunate. But he is convinced. Side story about Charlie, he is convinced that anyone who just comes right into the house is probably safe but anyone who knocks on the door or rings the doorbell is probably a murderer, because what murderers do when they come to your house is they politely knock on the door or ring the doorbell. And what they definitely don't do is just come in uninvited. So Charlie's internal alarm system is not necessarily the most well honed when it comes to human interactions. Anyway, so like a squeezy food item, he basically just used his jaw to condense this metal can and squeeze all of Edie's food out of it that he could, until he literally ended up like the can looked like a triangle. It was like he basically managed to like seal the bottom half of the can because he had squeezed everything out the top. And more importantly than that, so that's what we found when we got home, was this can on the floor that had been sort of squeezed into a sealed condition. But more importantly was that there were many shards of metal that had clearly just gone missing, and by gone missing I mean that Charlie ate them. And so that was obviously a moment of concern, but we went online and we were like, what do we do if our dog eats shrapnel? And here's the waving guy. Let me just wave at him. Little early there. Hello. And basically the answer is like you can just feed them pumpkin, and the pumpkin will kind of go around or squash. I mean, they're basically the same thing. We'll go around, sort of surround the metal pieces, and then he'll just poop them out. And so that's what we did, and he was fine. But for a while, anytime Charlie made a face at us, we would just imagine him saying, "Whom and I ate a can." Hi peeps. I know you have things to tell me now. You know I'm talking about the time you ate a can. Whom and I ate a can. Because he ate a can. Because that's what this ridiculous dog does. I know, buddy. I know. We're on our way to the dog park, and we'll be there in a Charlie or two. I guess like using today as an opportunity to describe all of the Charlie language and syntax is also useful. So I think I mentioned this yesterday, but in Charlie's mind, all units of everything are measured in Charlies. So whether it's a measure of weight or time or size or anything, it's just it's a Charlie, or it's many Charlies. It can be many Charlies. But the Charlie is obviously a very inconsistent measure. It's not really a helpful way of seeing the world. But I don't know, a short trip is like a Charlie or two, and then multiple days is many Charlies. And anything in between can be anything in between. At some point we sort of defined it as the amount of time it takes Charlie to say Charlie, but it's kind of gone well beyond that. Plus also now it's sort of evolved to be a measure of size. A horse is many Charlies big. Also, Charlie is obsessed with horses. He's obsessed really with like big dogs, small dogs, or things that he thinks could be big dogs. And so, we always imagine him going up to a horse and saying, "What kind of dog am you?" But he doesn't actually go all the way up to them, but he gets close to them and is just like, "This is amazing." He's like baffled by the enormity of a horse. Yeah, I know. He's getting some good wind machine right now. This person is slowing down, so I will also slow down. Defensive driving. Here's a story that is not about Charlie, it is about me. So when I was younger, I was pretty stupid. And so when I was learning to drive, I guess it was after I learned to drive, but like when I got my license, I drove way too fast a couple of times. More than a couple of times. I mean, it was like not infrequent for me to break 100. I'm honestly lucky to be alive. because there were times that I like really did not have control of my vehicle, to say nothing of, if like a deer ran out of the woods across the road, or like another car came up that I didn't see, like crossing or something. And the thing that changed that was when I got caught. I was up in, I took a day trip up to Montreal with some friends. We went up to see, well, not a day trip, it was a one-day overnight, or a one-night overnight. We went to see the Mets play the Montreal Expos. It was 2001, because we were big Mets fans. Also, speaking of which, happy birthday Melford, who was on that trip. His birthday is April Fool's Day. I mean, again, this is going to get posted tomorrow, but today is his birthday. Happy birthday. My old buddy Melford. So we're like in the car driving back from Montreal. Also, man, going to Montreal to see Mets games, well, it was the only time I did it, I guess, but like, it was, 2001, you could literally walk up the day of the game, and we paid, I think, like $25 a pop, and we sat behind the Mets dugout, because that was the state the Expos were in right before they moved to Washington, D.C. to become the Nationals. And, 20, I guess not quite 20 years later, I would end up going to see them play in the World Series. That was neat when that happened. Anyway, so we were driving down, and I was going like 105 or something, and there was a cop who just, well-positioned speed trap, and, pulled me over. He was like, I could throw you in jail for reckless driving right now. You're driving way too fast. You need to slow down. And I basically was like, I agree. I think Melford drove home because I was shaking. My license got suspended for a few months. And basically, the good news is, once I got my license back, I really sort of lost a lot of my old impatience with driving, and a lot of my old tendencies towards, well, road rage is like a whole thing that I probably could do a whole episode on, and today is lighthearted fare, so I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, I am now a very defensive driver. I often drive below the speed limit, not intentionally, but just because, like, I drive, if I'm driving at a speed that feels safe to me on these like windy mountain roads, it often ends up being below the speed limit. I know, we're almost there, pal. Yeah, we're almost there. I know, you're so dog-sided. You're so dog-sided. I know. So yeah, if you ever see someone, if you're stuck behind someone going really slow and seeming like they're just very cautious, and then you pull up next to them, and you see this majestic beard, then hi. I will say, hi, hello, how are you? It is good to see you. Anyway, that's my driving style now. I know, we're almost there. We're getting so close to the park. I know, it's dog favorite. That's some more Charlie syntax. Anything that he likes is dog favorite. Most words have the wrong consonants in Charlie syntax. Also, this is something I haven't shared on here, but like, part of why Charlie is really excited to arrive at the dog park in the morning, part of it is he really likes it, but part of it is also that's where he takes his first poop of the day. And so I know, he's also like, I need to poop, is part of what's happening. This channel is all about acknowledging the reality of the world, and poop is a big part of that reality, especially when you have a dog. I know, we're almost there, and then you can poop. One of our nicknames for Charlie, and there are many, Beeps is one. You can probably figure out why. But another one is Most Poops Dog, which usually only comes up in context, but Most Poops Dog, one word, all one word. Because that's That's how he rolls. I know, we're almost there. We're almost there. You're gonna see your friends, and you're gonna get to poop, and everything's gonna be great. I know, we're almost there. Yeah, Beeps, most poops dog. Also, Lorb or Lorby have come up because there's also, we decided at some point gas is also a part of life, especially when you have my Ashkenazi Jewish digestive system. I know, we're almost there. We decided at some point that the way Charlie says his name is not Charlie, but Charlorb. Because I don't know, I don't have a reason for that. But so sometimes we call him Lorb or Lorbo or Lorby, or Charlorb, you know, who means why you left in Charlorb all weekend, and so on. Wow, dog park is crowded today. Here's the spot. Anyway, yeah, we're here at the dog park. Charlie needs to poop. So we'll be back. We'll be back in a Charlie or two, with some more fun and ridiculousness. Okay, bye for now. I know. Yeah, here we go. Let's take your leash off. Okay, go ahead. Hello, as always, this is a reminder to you that if you enjoy this video series, channel, show, YouTube, to please click the like button, or the subscribe button, or the share button, or to comment if you have comments. That's feelings that you put into word form. And that's it. Yeah. I'm doing this because I don't really care about my own promotion, though, like, being able to have an income off of this would be nice in a society that demands that. But I care a lot about the message that I'm putting out into the world, because it's not mine originally. It's my own sort of remix of a lot of really old ideas. But it's sort of an approach that has helped me a lot, and I think hopefully it can help other people a lot. And so that's the main reason I would like people to like and share and subscribe and whatever. It is, I don't know if this were in a hypothetical world where this turns into like a massive money-making organization, then I'll like buy a farm and then give a lot of the money to people who don't have money or something. But right now, that's not the situation. But we can get there together. I don't know, whatever. Share this with people if you want to, if you like it. Click on like if you like it. How have I managed to make this into a approaching 2-minute long like and subscribe thing? I don't stop talking. I don't know if you've noticed this. I don't stop talking. I just stopped. Okay, thanks. Okay, we are heading home from the dog park. Charlie had a wonderful time. We were here for a good chunk of time. Yeah, there were a lot of dogs here today, so he did a lot of chasing, little bit of humping, but not too bad. He can be a little humpy. Today there was only one dog he got a little humpy with, and that dog was playing some good fetch, so it was okay. Charlie couldn't pin him down for long. Charlie was also kind of jealous because that dog still had his balls and Charlie doesn't. So, a day in the life of being Charlie's human. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other like stories I want to tell. I think what I was just thinking as I was at the dog park talking with my dog park friends. So we were talking about, well, I don't know. We talked about a lot of things because it's really nice. We just go and kind of shoot the shit for, I don't know, today was a good hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours, probably not 2 hours, but I don't know what time I got here. Anyway, one thing that came up was I brought up the subject of BoJack Horseman, which is one of my favorite TV programs, and I had the thought that I would share a little bit about the media that I consume, because I don't know. Again, we're keeping it light today, although. So the problem is the media that I consume. What I like a lot. Oh, that's a text from Susie about whether or not I should pick up sandwiches. So let me find a place to pull over so that I don't have to read a text while driving. I'm gonna do that first. I'll just stop this in a sec. Yeah, okay. Just gonna pull in here for a moment. Pull in at the Nevada County Fairgrounds. I'll be right back. Okay, I am not picking up sandwiches. That makes life a little easier. Susie's gonna eat some leftover soup. I think I'm gonna eat the leftover last night for dinner. I made these. I don't remember they're these Japanese fritters. I think they are called, I want to say it's okonomiyake, I think, which is a long word in a language that I don't speak. Yes, media that I consume. Lots of traffic here at this stop sign. We got like 5 cars. Whoa, 7 cars. This is a lot of traffic for Grass Valley. So what I was starting to say is, I wanted to talk about media, and in theory that's to keep it light. But here's the thing: what I love about BoJack Horseman, and also just a lot of the things that I'll talk about, the one recurring theme is going to be that they all deal with inherited trauma, because. And I touched on this yesterday, and we're not going to go too far down this road today, but I think inherited trauma is at the foundation of the vast majority of our societal ills, and even things like, our obsession with profit, our obsession with dominance and our own superiority, and all of those things. I think a huge amount of that just comes down to unresolved not always inherited trauma, sometimes just unresolved trauma, but sometimes unresolved inherited trauma. It can be both. And so I really like media that sort of deals with that. I think it is important to deal with the reality of the world, because if we don't, we just keep making the same mistakes over and over again. There's the expression about those who don't learn history are doomed to repeat it. And I think that's true, but it's not enough to know history, because we can always tell ourselves a story about why we're different than the horrible thing that someone else did. And so it's not just those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it, but also those who ignore their own trauma and their own psychology are also doomed to, whether it's repeating history or just finding new ways to be horrible to each other. So inherited trauma is, it's not great that it's a big part of the world, but it is a big part of the world. And so I think in order to make things better, we need to be able to engage with it. And so what I really love about BoJack Horseman, I mentioned yesterday that in my sort of mental framework, and this isn't like an absolutely true thing, it's just the mental framework I use, and it's pretty arbitrary, but in my mental framework there are sort of 3 dimensions of our lives, and one of those is sort of the beauty / wonder dimension, which I can definitely see a lot of in nature, and also in like the micro universes of cheese making and things like that. Side note, my favorite word is microcosm, because it literally describes like a small universe, and there are I can look at you because I'm at a traffic light. A microcosm is a micro universe, right? It's a small universe, and there are so many ways that our universe repeats itself on so many different levels. It's an idea that in math is called a fractal, where you have the same pattern that is small, and then as it grows out, it repeats the same pattern at larger levels and so on. And so that is I don't know, microcosm is a prettier word than fractal, so that's also probably a factor in my like aesthetic preference for it. But anyway, so the dimensions of the world are of our existence are sort of the beauty and wonder dimension, and the other positive dimension is comedy and ridiculousness, and then the negative dimension is pain and grief. And I think it is actually important. Part of the idea of it is that there are two positive aspects and one negative, because the world can be, there is more to enjoy if we have the freedom to enjoy it. It is possible to live a life where we are hurt so much that we don't get to enjoy those things, and that's a thing where I am lucky that that's not my situation. But it is, I think it is important to simultaneously recognize the existence of suffering, but also recognize that that's not all there is, and there is so much to enjoy and wonder at, and there is so much to laugh at. And so what I enjoy about BoJack Horseman, coming back to this, is that it does play with the beauty and wonder dimension sometimes. It doesn't get as much into that, but it's there. But it engages a lot, both with really weighty and important topics related to trauma and suffering and pain. If you're not familiar with the show, it's on Netflix, and it's set in a universe where it's all animated, and so the characters some of them are humans, and some of them are anthropomorphized animals, I think is the word. So like people who are, animals who basically take a human form, right? They have like human arms and legs, but like an animal head, and they still do ridiculous animal things. So like the main character is BoJack Horseman, who is a washed up TV star, who was the star of Horsin' Around, which was like a popular 90s sitcom, sort of that universe's equivalent of Full House, where 3 orphans are adopted by an adult horse. And so what I really enjoy about the show, so BoJack is now, decades later, is now like a washed up former star, struggling with addiction and depression and alcoholism, and all, his biggest addiction is his addiction to the fame that he lost. And so the show deals with those themes while also living in a world where his agent is a cat who, when she runs on the treadmill, has a little mouse toy dangling in front of her because she's the cat. And I really, really love the way that show engages simultaneously with really relatable and important themes that affect all of us, while also embracing just absolutely ridiculous humor. I have described it to Susie as the show that in a world where I like create a fictional TV show, like that is the show that I wish I had the imagination to create. I love that show. So that's one. BoJack Horseman is one. Another TV show that I really love is Steven Universe. I've actually started rewatching it. And it's a bit different because, BoJack is very explicitly for adults, and Steven Universe is made more for kids, although it is watchable for adults. And it also deals with inherited trauma. But Steven Universe it's also animated, and it's about, it's in a world where there are these intergalactic super women / gems, like literally gemstones, and they are recovering from the trauma of the gem wars, and like their enemies from the gem wars are still out in space, and Steven is half gem, half human, and he needs to sort of come to terms with his own powers and like discover them, and also his magical destiny, but also all he wants is for everyone to get along and like stop fighting, even though there is all of this really difficult, really painful, lingering trauma. He takes on the challenge of helping everyone heal it, and the thing about a show like Steven Universe is in fiction, one person or half superhero, half person can make all of that happen. But in the real world, none of us can do that alone. I am not out here trying to save the world by myself, but I am trying to do my part to save the world and hopefully inspire other people to do their part to save the world, and save humanity from all of the pain and trauma we've inherited, because the source of all of our fighting and all of our pain is, it's real pain that has been inflicted on us. I know I'm getting a little dark here again, but we can overcome it. And Steven Universe is it's a beautifully animated show. It's also really whimsical and funny at times. Again, it really explores sort of these dimensions of beauty and of ridiculousness and of suffering. And so I really enjoy that show for that reason. There are also some books I have read that I want to sort of throw out there as recommendations. They tend to be a little more serious and a little less on the ridiculous dimension. They're nonfiction. So one book that I really, really enjoyed is I'm briefly blanking on the name, Utopia for Realists, which is by an economist named Rutger Bregman. He's a Dutch economist, and it is one of the core inspirations for this channel, because his argument is basically there is, for most of human history, we were all trying to figure out how to make the world better. And our in our current world, there's so much all around us happening all the time that we've kind of lost that ability to imagine something better. And so he talks about the ways that economic systems could be reshaped to make a better world. And I believe pretty strongly in the systems he proposes. And it really is, it's the idea of, I've talked about this before, but it's an economic system where everyone is treated as having just inherent value as a human being, and so everyone's basic needs are met, but there is still a ton of wealth left over to have a system that rewards the things we want to reward, but the gaps don't have to be as big as they are. And we don't have to have poverty the way we do. Certainly in America, which is one of the wealthiest countries in the history of the world, we don't need to have anyone living in poverty, let alone a huge number of people and a huge number of children. And so Utopia for Realists is exactly what it sounds, right? It's how do we build a better world while being realistic about what's possible. So that's a book I would recommend. Another favorite book of mine is See No Stranger by I think her name is pronounced Valerie Kaur. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that because I've only read it. Although I did at some point, I think I at some point went looking for her YouTube videos I saw her get introduced at a TED Talk or something. Oh, this person's going into a driveway. Great. And I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, but again, I apologize if I'm not. See No Stranger. It is a memoir. She calls it a memoir and manifesto. And I am trying to incorporate that into this also, right? I am simultaneously talking about my own painful memories, that's the memoir part, and I'm talking about the way I think the world could be, which is the manifesto part. I also, a dimension that I'm trying to add here is sort of modeling a way that we can behave, and particularly that I think other straight white men, I am trying to model what I think we can do to be better, because there's a lot of pain that's been caused in our names. I'm going down the darkness road again, I apologize, but anyway, it is Valerie Kaur's memoir. She is a frankly brilliant and really fascinating person, and I don't even feel the need to I don't know. It is about her life sort of growing up as the child of, I believe she's a first generation American. It might be her grandparents immigrated. I don't remember because I read it a while ago. I read it over 6 months ago, less than a year, but a while. but it's a wonderful book that sort of talks about, again, inherited trauma is everywhere, and it sort of talks about inherited trauma, and particularly her experience as a member of the Sikh community, which has been targeted by some pretty violent attacks because, it's something that's like challenging and complicated about it is that Sikhs have been targeted because people mistake them for Muslims, but also directing violence against Muslims is also really harmful, and for the most part, people are just trying to live their lives. That's the biggest thing I've learned in all of my travels. Anyway, I would recommend also See No Stranger by Valerie Kaur. And we just got home, so I feel like those 4 recommendations are a pretty good place to leave things for now. Charlie and I need to go inside. I'll be back to do some meditation in a Charlie. Now that you know that term, I'll be back in a Charlie. But yes, BoJack Horseman and Steven Universe are wonderful. See No Stranger and Utopia for Realists are also wonderful. I think those aren't the only things, but I don't know, some other books I've read recently that I really enjoyed. I actually really, something about Combating Cult Mind Control, which sounds a little quacky, but is written by a former high-up member of the Mooney organization. The Unification Church is I think the like official term for it. My view on religion in general is that religion itself is not the source of harm, but religious organizations can use. Honestly, any organization with power over people can use their power for harm or for good. And so religious organizations have often been used for harm, but also have been used for good. Governments have also been used for harm and have been used for good. Corporations have also been used to do a lot of harm and sometimes have done some good. Anyway, that book I also found really fascinating, just in the way it talks about. This is sort of a hard thing to say without hurting and upsetting some people, and so I apologize for that. But it sort of talks about the way something that we see a lot in our world is that when an idea is threatening to the power of an organization, that idea is labeled satanic. And that's going on. There's a fair amount of that going on right now that has nothing to do with the Unification Church or with. Well, sometimes it's religion. And, my view is that an idea is only harmful if it's used to do harm. The ideas can be good. Ideas can be bad. But for the most part, I said this the other day, like the ideas that are used to do harm tend to be good ideas that get the logic gets twisted. And so to me, the fundamental thing that matters is not the idea, it's whether you're doing harm to other people or not. But it is a powerful thing to convince someone that if they listen to me, for example, they will be exposed to satanic ideas and that I am, doing something evil here. Because all I'm trying to do is encourage peace between people, and I am sorry if peace between people is at odds with your belief system, but I would also, if that's the case, I would encourage you to think a little more critically about your belief system, because the world doesn't have to be like this. We don't all have to be fighting each other in the name of whatever beliefs we have. So that book was also interesting. There was also a book I read, and I don't remember, I'm blanking on the name. Steve Hassan is the guy who wrote Combating Cult Mind Control. The other book I was going to mention, I don't remember. That's fine. We can end it there. All of these, I really, if you're a TV person, BoJack Horseman and Steven Universe are really two of my very favorite things. Also, The Good Place. Oh, I love The Good Place. Although the philosophy of The Good Place, where people get points for their actions, is kind of at odds with where I've gotten to. Although I think, it deals with that. It addresses that. I have actually in my life I relate strongly to Chidi from The Good Place because all I want to do is figure out how to stop people from fighting. And Chidi has certainly gone down the route of like rules and which rules are the best, whereas I have sort of gone down the road of I actually don't think rules. I think rules. You know, we think a lot about the idea that rules are the most important thing, or are certainly an important thing, and I think that just like ideas, rules can be used to do good, and they can be used to do harm. And a rule in and of itself is neither a good thing nor a bad thing. I think what matters is the way that we engage with them. It's the interaction of the rules and of our culture. And so, you know, I spent time working on campaigns to try to change the rules, and I sort of got to the point where I realized that other people are more competent at the things that go into that, and so I'm getting out of their way. But I think culture is a place where I can hopefully have some influence, and so that's what I'm trying to do here. You know, I'm not trying to control anyone, but if I can influence anyone to find some peace and to create some peace, then that's great. Okay, we've talked about all that. Charlie wants to go inside. I want to eat lunch. Both of those things are going to happen, and then I will come back and meditate. And tomorrow, well, Monday's episode, it'll go live. We'll have a special treat for you. Okay, see you in a bit. Bye. That was a weird face. Sorry, I make weird faces sometimes. Am I the only one who does that? Probably not. Okay, bye. Please like and subscribe. 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 Hello, I'm back. I had my delicious leftover fritters for lunch. They were great. So I'm out here to do a little 10-minute meditation. Silent meditation. I've said this before, but I feel like it's a good thing to reiterate. If you are, watching this or just listening to it somewhere that you can't, stop. If you're working or driving or whatever, that's totally fine. And also, look, if you wanna skip over this part, that's okay. I understand. But I think it is good to have 10 minutes of silence alone with our thoughts, whether we are actually meditating or not, because we do spend a lot of time in our current world avoiding being alone with our thoughts. And I have spent a lot of time in my life being avoiding that, and meditation is sort of part of my practice to work on that. And yeah, I mean, our thoughts are there whether we like them or not, and if we drown them out, then that all just builds up, right? It just sort of builds up a tension inside us, and that's super unhealthy for us. So yeah, meditation is a practice that silent meditation is a practice I've taken up in the last year and change that I find really helpful. I also want to mention the idea of it as a practice is something that I don't think I really got before, but it literally, meditation is sort of, I think of it like, this is such a dude way to say it, but it's like the gym for your brain, because what you are doing is literally you are practicing keeping your attention focused, right? What you do when you do a silent meditation, what I do, I've talked about this before, but I sit here, and as I breathe in, I think to myself, I follow my breath all the way in. When I breathe out, I think to myself, I follow my breath all the way out. And I just do that over and over. I follow my breath all the way in, I follow my breath all the way out. Slowly, if I can. Breathing slowly, I mean. And what happens is your mind inevitably wanders, and ultimately you catch it sooner or later, and then you return to the mantra, to the thing that you're repeating in your head. And what that does is it is literally practicing catching your mind wandering, because the way to keep your attention focused, it's not about focusing your attention on the thing as much as it is about when your mind starts to wander, catching it and bringing it back. And so meditation is a practice for that. I mean, that's what mindfulness is, right? It's sort of awareness of what's going on as opposed to letting yourself drift away. And no one loves drifting away into their thoughts more than I do, but it is really useful. It is an important muscle, for lack of a better term. It's not literally a muscle, but it is an important, skill, reflex to have, to be able to catch your attention and direct it as you want to. And so, when things are going well, you can choose to. That was a surprise little hiccup that happened because my phone ran out of storage space, which is a good reminder to me to clear out these files every time probably every day is probably the right move, because they're big files, because I talk for like an hour sometimes. So what I was saying was letting your mind wander can be a really delightful experience, but what's really nice, what's useful about sort of developing this mindfulness skill is you can choose when to let your mind wander, as opposed to being me with my severe ADHD and just like it's kind of going wherever, whenever, on very, very long trains. I mean, this entire show is a pretty good indication of the way that like my trains of thought go all over the place. Anyway, so yeah, that is why I have learned to practice meditation, and it's a practice because you're practicing a skill. And we're sort of used to thinking of practice as like you are practicing for game time, for performance, whatever, right? Your basketball team is practicing because you're going to have a game, or you're practicing an instrument because you're going to have a concert or whatever. But this is just a practice for developing the skill. And also, quite frankly, you can practice playing an instrument because you enjoy it and you don't ever have to play it for anyone else. So yeah, that's sort of the practice element of it. Anyway, I think that's sort of all of my preface here. But yeah, again, I think, if you're at work, if you're driving wherever, somewhere that you can't stop and meditate, or if you're at home doing nothing and you just don't want to meditate, that's fine. But I would encourage you to try it. And if it's not your bag, that's totally fine. It also takes time to sort of adjust to it. Also, if you don't want to do it, that's okay. And if you want to move on, that's okay. But also, like, having 10 minutes of silence to yourself is not the worst thing to experience every so often. It's good for us. And it's a lovely day here in Grass Valley, so you'll probably get some like bird chirping and stuff in the background. I mean, I will. I just don't know how much it gets picked up by the microphone. Also sounds like a chainsaw, so you get the lovely sounds of nature. It already went by, but the garbage truck came by earlier, and part of the thing with all of this is like sometimes the garbage truck is going to go by and it's going to be loud. There is a lovely story from I'm going to try to pronounce this properly in Vietnamese, Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, who is one of my very favorite philosophers. He's, I talked earlier about media that I consume, but really the thing that sort of started me on this journey was just a little booklet from Thich Nhat Hanh called How to See, and he has all of these different, how to see, how to sit, how to love, how to relax, how to eat, that are just sort of little mindfulness. I think they're called Mindfulness Essentials is the series, and they're really short. They're super digestible. They're each like 100 pages long, and a page is like a couple paragraphs of text, but they are lovely. But he has a story about meditating, hosting a retreat in somewhere in the mountains in California, probably at the Deer Park Monastery, which is one of the monasteries he founded, which I think is somewhere down near LA. I'm not 100% sure. But they were practicing meditation all weekend, and a number of the people who were attending the retreat were Vietnamese immigrants who had either fled during the war or after the war. There was a huge influx of refugees from the Vietnam War. And at the time that they were doing this retreat, there was a wildfire, not necessarily right where they were, but close enough that helicopters were flying to fight the fire and were flying past where they were. And he talks about how, for a lot of people in the group, that brought up a lot of trauma, right? Because if you were a Vietnamese villager, the sound of a helicopter is the sound of like approaching death and destruction. And so some of the folks at the retreat were having a really hard time. Also, it's amazing that he manages to tell this entire story in a paragraph. And I'm like, here, let's make that 5 minutes long. But so some folks were really struggling with that, and he talks about how, they would just reassure themselves that in this particular instance, the helicopters were there to do good. They were trying to put out a fire, and also just if you are meditating, there will be environmental things going on, and your brain's going to notice them because that's what your brain does. There's a thing, but it's okay. As long as there is not an actual threat to you, it is okay to just sort of notice the thing and move on. And if you keep noticing it, that's okay too. Back when we lived in DC, I would often sit on our back porch and meditate, and we would hear the sounds of like trucks and cars going down the street. Lots of beep beep with the trucks backing up. And there we have a chainsaw sound. And it's just part of the environment. So I would encourage you, whatever sounds are going on around you. I'm not going to say block it out, because you can't. But I'll say just, notice it and come back to where you are. Because that's the purpose of the exercise. Okay, and with that, we'll get started. I don't think I have much else to say today. One of the thoughts I had, ADHD, one of the thoughts I had for today's, lower key episode, I forgot about it when I was doing it, so it didn't happen, but was that just, while I was driving, I would just, make up songs about things, but I'm sure that'll happen sometime. I make up a lot of songs about Charlie. Okay, anyway, meditation. It's going to be 10 minutes. There's going to be a starting bell. 10 minutes later, there's going to be another bell. And in between, I am just going to sit here. I'm going to breathe in and think in my head. I follow my breath all the way in. I follow my breath all the way out, over and over. And every time something I've been trying to practice is that every time I actually catch myself with my mind wandering, I smile to myself because, because that's how the way you get better isn't by being perfect. It's by catching yourself when you drift. And so I smile because I'm happy that I am catching myself. But it's also a good way to connect the happy feeling that your brain gets from a smile to the experience of bringing your attention back, which is just another good way to sort of reinforce that neural connection in your brain. So that's what I'm going to do over here. Okay, iPad time. I have rambled probably enough for today. Also, I really need to clean my house because my got a out of town guest coming later. I think I already mentioned it, but anyway. Okay, no, stay on screen. All right, see you in 10 minutes and change. 10 minutes and 15 seconds, 14 seconds, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, etc. You know how this goes. You know numbers. Okay. Whew. That was a good one for me. Maybe for you too. I feel like, whew. I feel like I'm waking up from a nap. Excuse me. It sounds. Okay. Well, that is going to be it for today. And I'm going to post this tomorrow, which means this is going to be the last episode that goes up this week. So I hope you have a lovely weekend. And then I'm going to record tomorrow, but that'll go up on Monday. Yeah, have a great weekend. Have a great weekend. I can speak words. And you know, try to like be good to each other, and I don't know, try to manage your feelings and your ego and all of those things in a way that is constructive and not destructive, because lordy me, there's a lot of distraction out there. Okay. Bye-bye.